Yo, 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 what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. I do want to preface this with saying I think I'm a little sick, so if I sound nasally at all, my bad, I can't really do much about it. We had Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight, Miami versus Boston, and to be honest, coming into this game, to me, it kind of felt like it was wraps for Miami. I really thought Boston was going to come into this game at home, riding the momentum of their last huge win, and just kind of take out Miami, moving on to the finals to face off against the Golden State Warriors, or at least that's how I thought it was going to go. Miami, to be honest at this point, is just really beat up. Jimmy Butler has been dealing with a persistent, I believe it's a knee injury, that really for the last few games has hindered him a lot. He doesn't have the usual bounce, he doesn't have his usual quickness, and his jump shot just hasn't been falling. He's really been struggling since the first couple games of this series. You've got Kyle Lowry, who started this series injured and coming back. He, up until this game, hadn't scored a single field goal, I believe, in any of the conference finals games leading up to this. Tyler Hero missed this game and has missed the last few. This is just a really beat up basketball team. All year, they were winning by committee. They dealt with a lot of injuries, and it kind of just felt like they were, catching up with them at this point. It felt like the Celtics were going to ride that momentum with Marcus Smart and Robert Williams playing tonight, come into Boston, get the win, and maybe in another blowout fashion like we've seen all over the conference finals. But if there was anything that these conference finals and really NBA playoffs as a whole have kind of shown me, is that I can't really predict what's going to happen, because you can have one team win by 30 one day and the next day lose by 40 or 50. It's just the way these playoffs have gone. And so coming into this game, very early on from the get-go, the Heat were really aggressive. Jimmy Butler in particular, who had an incredible performance in this one that we're going to talk about pretty much for this entire video. But you also had pretty big contributions from Kyle Lowry, who immediately came out and from the first few minutes of the game looked like the Kyle Lowry we're used to seeing. He looked like the Kyle Lowry we saw have big games in elimination games for Toronto. Game 6 Lowry is back, I guess. He had 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 10 assists in this one in 37 minutes before ultimately fouling out. He was really good. He was phenomenal in this one, hit a lot of big shots down the stretch, and we finally got a really close game. This one was like a classic. We had great performances, like I said, from like Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, and on the Celtics side of things, Tatum, Jaylen Brown had great games. Derek White started spazzing really in that fourth quarter. He had a huge three to put the Celtics up 3 with pretty late in the game. Kyle Lowry matched that with a 3 of his own, and Jimmy Butler continued his dominance for the last few minutes to give the Heat a 111-103 win in this game. It was so fun. Jason Tatum and Jimmy Butler traded buckets a lot in the first half, and in the second half Jaylen Brown got kind of involved, and then Tatum really started to heat up, and then Jimmy heated up even more, really taking over, seeking out that contact to get to the free throw line, drilling 3 after 3. I believe he had 4 threes in this game. They were sagging off of him, and he made them pay every single time. Tough mid-range jumpers, going to the basket. It was what we've seen Jimmy Butler do, and now we have a game 7. Jimmy Butler in this one dropped 47 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists in 46 minutes. He had 47 points. The second leading scorer was Lowry with 18. You had 11 from PJ Tucker, who was great with a clutch steal. 13 from Max Strus, who finally turned around his conference finals. And then beyond that, no one else in double digits. It really was Jimmy Butler. This was kind of the definition of a guy willing his team to victory. The Celtics, late in this one, really got all the momentum, but Jimmy Butler refused to let his team lose, came up with big play after big play, ultimately willing them to this victory, and continuing to really cement himself as one of the premier playoff performers in the NBA. When you think about the term like superstar, a lot of different people have a different definition of it for the NBA. For me, it's like the top 8, 10-ish players in the league, and so when I look at it just like that, I don't know if I'm able to call Jimmy Butler like a superstar, because for me, I'm not sure if he's top 10. He's like right there in that conversation, but there are so many great players in this league that it's really hard to truly say who goes where. But Jimmy Butler, at least in the playoffs, is the definition of a superstar. He's the guy that you could put your team behind, say, hey, go will us to a victory, and he can pull that out. Dropping, like I said, 47 points in a closeout game. He now has 4 45-5 games in his time as a Miami Heat member in the playoffs. You know how many others there have been in Miami Heat history that have had a 45-5 game? It's happened 4 other times. So Jimmy Butler is 4, and every other Heat player in history also has 4. He's ridiculous. It's insane what he's doing. I believe I also saw a stat that this was the most points by a Heat player in a closeout game in their franchise history, or not a closeout game, but a potential elimination game in franchise history. He refused to lose. It was so amazing to watch, and we've seen him do it time and time again. And whether or not you think he's top 10 in the regular season or overall or whatever, when it comes down to the NBA playoffs, the moments that matter the most, there aren't a lot of players you would want over Jimmy Butler over the last few seasons. What he did in 2020, 2021, he had that rough series against the Bucks and then came back right this year. He's had a couple inconsistent performances here and there, but in the moments when you need him most, Jimmy Butler is there. He is the definition of a playoff superstar. He's the guy that can be your team's best player on a phenomenal squad. He's done it. He's proven it to pretty much everyone at this point. I said in my last video about Jimmy Butler, I was wrong about him. I wasn't sure if he could be that guy for the Heat going into these playoffs. I just wasn't sure if he had enough consistency. And given he is inconsistent every now and again, he has done by far enough to show me that he is a guy that can be your one option. Sure, the Heat, like, they still might not win the finals even if they come out of this, but just making it through a brutal Eastern Conference to make it to the NBA Finals for a team that is so beat up, to me, like, the Heat are kind of the definite, like, you know that SpongeBob episode where, maybe some of y'all don't know this, but there's a SpongeBob episode where this guy has like glass bones and paper skin and he's in like all these casts and stuff. That's what this Heat roster has been so much of this season. But because of the way that Jimmy Butler has played, Eric Spoelstra has coached, this team is able to put things together, will themselves to victory, despite a lot of people, me included, counting them out a lot of the time. It's really, really impressive. I've been blown away by what I saw. I really thought the Heat were dead in the water in this one. But Jimmy Butler coming through with one of the most impressive playoff performances I've ever seen. PJ Tucker, clutch defensive play after clutch defensive play. Bam Adebayo, well, I do think he still needs to be a lot more aggressive offensively if they do want to win the finals. Defensively, he was really, really solid. Lowry bouncing back in such a big way, in the way that I thought he was going to affect this series the whole time. Of course, he is dealing with those injuries, but when Lowry's playing like this, the Heat becomes so much better. They become so hard to stop when they have that dynamic point guard play offensively and defensively. A guy that can get in the lane and draw a charge, hit a big three on the other end, and then dime up a couple of plays 2 possessions later. Max Strus hitting his shots, 11 points in the third quarter. Oladipo only 9 points, but playing really solid defense. Same with Gabe Vincent, who only had 2 points, but had really solid defensive plays. And it's not like the Celtics just kind of weren't hitting shots. Jason Tatum went off. He was 8 of 12 shooting for 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. He honestly probably should have demanded the ball more, is maybe one of my big complaints from this game. Jason Tatum should have kind of just went, hey, give me this ball and I want to take over. Now, part of that is the Celtics, or the Heat, excuse me, did a great job of denying Jason Tatum the ball a lot of the time. They were forcing other guys to beat them. Whenever Tatum would drive in, there were 2 guys right there, including that late possession where PJ Tucker got that steal from behind on him. Whenever Tatum was trying to drive to the basket or make a play, the Heat swarmed him immediately, and they were trying to make Al Horford, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, whoever was on the court, Marcus Smart, who really struggled to score the ball today, whoever else beat them. Because if they just let Tatum continue to go one-on-one with guys, the Celtics were going to win this game. He was cooking from the get-go. He was hitting tough threes, mid-range jumpers like we've seen him hit, tough baskets. He had this crazy floater at the end of the game when it kind of didn't matter anymore, but still a really tough bucket. Tatum was a man on a mission, but the Heat have the personnel to lock down defensively to force the other guys to beat them, and tonight they just didn't. Smart was taking a lot of really questionable shots, in my opinion. It felt like every time he shot a 3, he was like 5 feet behind the 3-point line. I don't know why he was so deep, but it felt like every 3 he took was from so far beyond the line. Like I mentioned, Derek White had a really good game, but Grant Williams struggled in this one with just 2 points. They only played 7 guys. Horford only had 3 points. Given the 3 that he hit was a big one, and he had some really good defensive plays, but they need more from him offensively. Robert Williams had 12 points, but only 1 rebound. The Heat did a great job of sealing guys off, keeping the Celtics off the glass whenever possible. PJ Tucker going up for boards, of course. Jimmy Butler going up for boards. This Heat team just continued to find ways to grab the rebound. 4 boards for Lowry, 9 for Bam Adebayo, 5 for Victor Oladipo. They were just snagging boards at every possible opportunity, and it felt like they did a great job of closing out possessions, not letting the Celtics get offensive rebounds, get extra shots, and even if they did a great job of shutting down those possessions afterwards. Their defensive pressure swarming was so impressive. The Heat did a great job. This was really an impressive win from them. I'm really excited for Game 7. I hope it's going to be a good one. If it's anything like this, we're in for what is going to be a classic to see who will face off against the Warriors in the NBA Finals. The Warriors have to be feeling really good right now, watching these two teams play against each other so physically, going to a Game 7 while they continue to rest. Whoever comes out of this is going to be really beat up, and it's going to take a heroic effort to go up against that Warriors team that's getting some rest, is going to get Gary Payton II back, probably Otto Porter. That's a really tough matchup out there in the West to face off against, but for right now, I'm really excited to see who comes out of this Game 7. Shout out to Jimmy Butler. He is the definition of a superstar when you get to the playoffs, puts his team on his back offensively, defensively. He'll give you 48 minutes if he has to. Just all around an incredible story from an incredible player as the Heat push through Game 6 heading to Game 7. So, that was my thought on the game tonight. Let me know what your biggest takeaways were in the comment section below and who you have winning Game 7. I'd love to see who you've got. Also, please leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy. It would help me out a ton. But for right now, I appreciate y'all watching. I will see you all later. Real one, say it back.